Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 14, Episode 7. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Saturday. Steelers Nation, of course, recording this episode on Saturday on the heels of the Pittsburgh Steelers preseason opener, a really fun game and victory for the Steelers 27-17 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay last night. Dave, a little bit of everything. You saw the first team offense look strong. Some rookies made plays. Defensively, there were some splash moments. Overall, A, so glad football's back, and B, so glad to see that version of football back. I think an overall strong performance from this team.
Yeah, you talk about preseason games and first preseason games in general. I thought it was a pretty entertaining game, and I think we were able to learn a lot just from the TV copy from it. And obviously, the all-22 version will drop hopefully later on this Saturday. There was a lot more good in that game, really throughout it, to talk about, especially when it comes to some of the younger players and some of the players that we talked about. Hey, keep an eye on these players here. So it was definitely an entertaining night. It moved a little slow there in the second half. It felt like overall there, but yeah, look, I was highly entertained, and once again, you can't catch everything the first live time through the TV tape, and I went back and watched the TV tape again last night and a little bit this morning. So we definitely should have enough to talk about until the all-22 does drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pittsburgh gave us plenty to talk about. You're probably further ahead on the rewatch than me. I still have to go through all my charting and then, of course, go back and watch the game with a fine-tooth comb. But let's just dive right on in, and let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers' first offensive. Well, do you want to talk about injuries, or what do you want to do here to kind of
go ahead and get the injuries knocked out, and then we'll just jump into jumping through the game here.
Yeah, well, Mike Tomlin earlier this week said all healthy players will play. There may have been some of those bruised and concussed birth certificates that you mentioned, because a lot of veterans did not play, which I have no problem with. No Cam Hayward, no TJ Watt, no Patrick Peterson. All those kind of, bigger star names defensively sat this one out. Some guys that had some minor injuries did not play. Larry Ogunjobi, I had reported on that late last training camp practice that Ogunjobi was with a trainer, seemed okay, but he did not play in this game. Unfortunately, no Joey Porter Jr. in this game. I presume it's still the ankle that he's been battling a bit. I don't know that for a fact, but regardless, he did not play in this game. Hopefully he can be ready for the Bills game on the 19th. Now, in-game injuries, there were a couple, and potentially one serious one at minimum. A couple inside linebackers going down. Chappelle Russell had a knee, per Mike Tomlin. Nick Witkowski had a right shoulder injury diving to force an incompletion. Don't know the status there. And unfortunately, cornerback Duke Dawson suffered what appeared to be a fairly significant looking knee injury very late in that game, and reportedly had to be he walked off with help of trainers, but I think he was carted back to the locker room. Also, Keanu Benton with an ankle injury. He did not return in the second half of this game. Mike Tomlin did not mention him by name post-game. Hopefully that's a positive sign, but we'll just have to wait and see. This team will be back at training camp in Latrobe tomorrow. I'll be there to report who's looking, who's practicing, who's not, and who looks okay.
Yeah, and the game book, obviously we haven't charted anything yet, but the game book says that players that did not play Friday night, Presley Harvin III, Chris Boswell, Patrick Peterson, Trey Norwood, who has that, was it a leg calf injury? I think DeMonte Casey, who's been sidelined for quite a bit. Joey Porter Jr., as you mentioned. Keanu Neal, who's been sidelined a little bit. John Lovett, poor guy gets signed to the roster and has, barely even saw practice time, didn't play. Minka Fitzpatrick, Christian Kuntz, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Larry Ogunjobi. So those are the players that did not see any action in this one. Obviously, it seems like with the punter, the kicker, and the long snapper, it was the backups night in this first preseason game. So that's probably why none of those guys played, and the rest of the guys either had injuries or contusion of the birth certificate.
That they did. One player who did play, which was a positive development, was rookie Nick Herbig, who had missed the last couple of practices in full. He was limited over the last, few days before the game with a hip flexor injury. He played in this one, entered the game a bit later than I think people thought, but he played and certainly made an impact. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But Dave, let's dive into the game here. And again, let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense on their first possession. As good of a drive that Kenny Pickett could have possibly had. The report was pregame, Kenny Pickett would play just one series, and one series was all he needed. 6 of 7, 70 yards, 33-yard touchdown to George Pickens on a slant with plenty of yak. We're talking about a lot of things we did not talk about last year with the Steelers offense. Starting fast, middle of the field, yak opportunities, Pickens on a slant. I know it's preseason, it's one game, but it's a lot of fun to talk about.
Well, on the podcast that we did on, what day is it? Friday. There we said what is a good opening preseason game for Pickett look like? And we rolled through a few of those things, and a lot of those boxes were checked. But I think you hit it, man. In that one series alone, how many things did we see in there? You forgot converting 3rd and long too.
Sure.
Look at all the things in that one, what was it? A 10-play, 83 drive of things that we did not see last year. You had him spreading the football around. You had him going through his progressions. In fact, the touchdown to Pickens was him going through his progressions and knowing he was going to have him there on the slant. We had the slant itself, which and for Pickens at that, which was pretty monumental. As you mentioned, the yards after the catch with the Pickens touchdown specifically, the explosive play on the touchdown of 33 yards, longest. That was longer than any touchdown that they had offensively last year, correct?
Right, which is a encouraging and depressing stat all at the same time.
Right. You had a 10-yard run by Jaylen Warren, which Mike Tomlin even talked to Bob Labriola pregame and clarified once again that they consider explosive runs to be 10 yards or more. What else did you have in there? You had a couple of catches to him. Yeah, and a little bit of yak after that. You had the 3rd and 10 conversion, 3rd and 10, and the touchdown came on a 3rd and 8 there as well too. So, and then the one incompletion that Pickett had. I mean, it was certainly understandable with the pressure and all that he faced on that one. So, I don't think you could have drawn up a better get our starting quarterback one possession and then get him out of the game type situation. You got to feel pretty good about that overall. In totality, and more than anything, it ended in a touchdown.
To answer your question and the question we posed Friday, what does a win look like for Kenny Pickett? It's what happened on Friday night. I mean, that was as good as you're going to draw it up in your head and go through your walkthrough. You had some Muth in the middle of the field, one time as well. So, not a lot not to like. But I really go back to the Pickens touchdown, obviously, and it's not just the fact that they scored. It's the fact, and I talked about this with Pickens from almost day one at camp, that he was doing more than just being the vertical guy. He was doing the boring, which is running the 7-yard slant and beating press coverage, and then you do something after the catch. He will certainly still be one of the best at that contested downfield vertical kind of guys, but he can be more than that, and that will take his game to the next level. He was the NFL's worst yak wide receiver last year, in part due to the route tree and just him being the vertical guy that doesn't always lend itself to having a ton of yak when you're winning contested. But I mean, he got, I think, 21 yards of yak on that touchdown. So, I mean, that's just stuff you didn't see last year. So for Pickett to Here, right, look left, full field scan, come back to his right, put that ball on the money, a really good yak throw to allow Pickens to run in stride, not slow down, not allow the defender to make a play on the football, and that helps create the yak opportunity. And then Pickens does the rest. I mean, remember that game against the Raiders last year? There was that, I think, NFL Films, mic'd up where Tomlin's on the sideline kind of, grumbling about Pickens not getting yak and not getting upfield. This area, Pickens gets upfield, makes a move, makes the safety miss, and gets in the end zone. So all that to say, and I have the article on the site this morning, this offense doing things that just they did not do last year.
Absolutely. And then, you got those guys in there, got them lathered up for a good 10 plays and got them out of the game.
Yeah, that is exactly to a T what you wanted overall. Get them in, have a really good series. You didn't want one series, 3 and out, and then it's like, okay, do you send them back out there again because they only got 3 plays? It was a crisp, efficient drive that put the ball in the end zone. So happy with that. Just to kind of maybe more broaden things out offensively beyond that first possession, what are some things that stuck out to you, Dave?
Beyond that first possession there, right away, once, the thing that stuck out was Kendrick Green came into the game, was the second team center. We wondered who was going to come into the game when. He was the second team center there, immediately on the ground there. That stuck out right away. I'm trying to.
Well, let's talk Calvin Austin. Let's talk the other, I think, big impact play. Maybe we can do this by more position group because you're right. There is so much to talk about. But Calvin Austin, his first NFL game, 364 days. Today is officially, I believe, 1 year since his foot injury that effectively ended his season. Tried to come back in October. Re-aggravated that foot, had surgery, season over. And if you were wondering if that speed was still there, it is still there. That 67-yard touchdown down the left sideline, a great ball by Mason Rudolph. Austin's first NFL touch, a 17-yard jet sweep. So big explosive plays, the other theme of this game. You're getting those explosive plays that were so severely lacking a year ago.
And look, he touched the football 4 times, had 90-something yards. There's nothing wrong with that. And he had another, drew a pass interference penalty of, 30-something yards down the right-hand side. And then on top of that, probably should have had another reception in that game in the second quarter there on kind of an out-breaking route there. And I thought Mason Rudolph kind of short-armed that a little bit and one-hopped it to him over there on the side. So he's over that. I'll tell you this, he's over that foot injury. And, we talked quite a bit about, throughout the offseason here about what he did and the explosive play rate that he had in Memphis, and especially for a span of 3 years there. If that's what he can provide you, then they're going to benefit from that. Most definitely. He's a guy that if he can get a free release off the line like that, it's going to be hard for teams to kind of zone him because of the fact that he can still probably run right by him. And then on the flip side, if you try to put a guy up on him and use maybe a bigger corner to kind of jam him, you better knock him off his route, because if you don't, he'll run right past you as well on top of it. And look, you go back and look at that one that I said he got one hop by Mason there. There's a lot of separation over there on that side. So the fact that I think he showed, and we'll see what the all-22 says. I think he showed enough, not only on the deep ball, which was evident, but on some of the shorter routes there that they were pretty crisp, I think, overall, and got some separation on them.
Yeah, I know that he's not going to have an incredibly consistent role in this offense. There's going to be some feast famine to his game, but when he's on the field, if you're a defense, it's hard to play single high. It's hard to play one-on-one coverage and hope that you can run with a guy like Calvin Austin and the threat that he's going to bring horizontally, whether that's jet sweeps or screen game or RPO game, and then vertically, as you saw in the touchdown. And I thought even just technically, it was a really good route by Austin to stem outside, stay clean, not get pinned. And the coaching point from wide receivers coach Frisman Jackson is to not look back early on those go routes. You want to dig and look forward so you maintain your speed, and look back relatively late well, so that you can, get a step on the corner. And that's what Austin did. Look back late down the football. By that point, he's got, I don't know, 2 steps on the corner. Who's looking back too early, slows him down. And it was a great ball again by Mason Rudolph. So I think even just the little details of the route to really highlight the speed that Austin has was really encouraging to see. So just happy for him to be inside the stadium, to have that impactful play, gave the football to his dad. And so just a great moment all around.
It was like 5 yards of separation in that when he was behind him there. Mm-hmm. Mason throws a good deep ball. If you give him time, he can get it out there. And I think kind of one of the undersold things, it wasn't textbook overall. Could have done a better job on it, but I think that was Greg Bell in there that had to pick up on that on the linebacker in there, and he did enough to serve as a fire hydrant of some sort there. You'd like to see him really kind of finish that, because there was the defender still got up, was able to get Mason's face a little bit. But the key thing is that Greg Bell provided enough time for Mason to get that thing uncorked and ended up in the end zone there. So kudos to him.
Yeah, it's a full team effort. It was probably more speed bump for Bell in that play, but it was enough, as you said, and I guess ultimately that's what matters. So let's look at receiver in that room more specifically. We talked about Pickens, Johnson, Austin. Anything else stick out to you from the wide receiver position?
Yeah, boy, Cody White had a prime opportunity to make a statement in this game. I felt overall, and that interception down the right side could Mitch have put that out there another yard? I don't think the safety was going to come over and catch up with that. So I think if Mitch puts that out there, another yard and a half or 2 out in front, I think it's a pretty uncontested catch opportunity for Cody White. Well, it wasn't put out that far, but even so, that is a contested catch opportunity where if you want to make an NFL team as a fringe wide receiver, you better make that play. And it actually did kind of get into his hands a little bit there overall. And who was it? Zion over there?
Yeah, McCollum.
And wasn't our own Owen Straley really high on Zion, I believe, coming out?
I think.
But you get in a 50-50 situation like that and you win those balls, that'll win your roster spot. And he didn't. It ended up being an interception. Yes, I do agree that Mitch could have maybe put that out there a little bit more, but he didn't. Now, later on in the game, there was another one that went right off of his hands too. So now he did have late in the first half, I think he had that key catch and was able to run, and I was worried he was.
Right.
I was worried he wasn't, going to get down in a quick enough time for them to be able to come back and get the spike there. But there were several things there at that play. He caught it. He got a little bit of yards after the catch there. Got down and immediately didn't give the football to anybody. Ran that thing back towards the center of the field. Those are kind of things that you don't, maybe pick up right. I didn't pick up on it until going back through the game there. So he was able to get that ball back to the refs in the center of the field in enough time for Mason Rudolph to spike that thing, which ended up in points. So there were some negatives with him, I think, in that game, but there were a couple of positives there. But overall, you got to make those, if you're going to win a roster spot, you got to make those catches, I think.
You do. The margin for error with Cody White is pretty small because he's fighting so hard for a spot, and he's had a really good camp overall. And that's a great point about him putting the ball down and taking it back. I did not even realize that. And that's one of those professional, type things that you would expect from guys that have been in the league for a couple of years like him, but there were some missed opportunities. And when you're fighting really hard for a spot, you got to capitalize on every chance. And so to me, again, that's why I think he's, prime practice squad material. I think he's going to make this team in terms of being part of the taxi squad. But that push for the 53, I just don't see the path for it.
As far as other wide receivers go, Hakeem had one that, had to see when that ball comes out, but it seems like he should have had one that probably is going to go in the books as a drop. Gunner, Gunner's an all effort guy. I mean, he's not flashy. He's not going to be a guy that even if he makes the team as let's say a 6 wide receiver, that he's going to catch more than 4 or 5, balls in a season. I don't think, but he is a high effort guy. And especially in the blocking game, man, for a guy as for his statue, he gives you all he has, when it comes to blocking in that aspect of it. Allen Robinson wasn't in the game enough, but I think he did enough good things, to, I mean, we won't really highlight any of them. I think he had one, got slipped on one of those blocks early, but he was able to recover and at least make an impact to free up. That might have been
the Warren run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might have been a Jaylen Warren run there. So I think that's kind of all that stuck out to me at the wide receiver position, at least a couple times through here.
It was interesting that Calvin Austin nor Gunnar Olszewski got a return attempt. It was all Jordan Berg, the rookie, back there, and that kind of surprised me. I thought that you would see Austin Olszewski, because it feels like they're more primarily fighting for to carve out a role there. I know Bird is as well. I mean, his whole calling card is being a return guy. He was a star kick and punt returner at San Diego State, but is he seriously competing for a roster spot? I mean, maybe Pittsburgh wanted to give him a long look in this game, and we'll change things up for the second and third games. We'll have to wait and see on that, but I thought that was kind of notable from the return aspect of things.
Right.
All right, let's talk quarterbacks. And we talked about Kenny Pickett, and obviously, A+ performance for him. What about the rest of the quarterbacks? All of them played. It was Mitch Trubisky coming in next, and Mason Rudolph, and then a big heaping dose of Tanner Morgan in this one, which was not the best effort, but obviously, first NFL game, late in the game, you're going to expect a lot of bumps along the road. But I thought Trubisky was okay. He was fine. I thought Rudolph led a really good 2-minute drive, and Tanner Morgan obviously looked like a guy playing in his first NFL game.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously one of those attempts by Trubisky we just talked about was picked off. He only had 4 attempts in the game. Really wasn't in there long enough to draw any hard. I mean, it obviously won't go in the books as his best showing by any stretch. And I think he had a little bit of pressure in there overall. And that first drive was 3 and out that he was in the game for. So really not much to draw from him there. Mason, nice, at least. One time he had Kendrick Green thrown right back into him. There he had to face a little bit of pressure overall. I didn't like that short arm over to the left on that one to Austin there. The deep ball was fine. He got him moving down the field on that 2-minute drive to get those points at the end of the half. So that was a positive there. So I mean, there it did take a couple of sacks where it looked like he tried to get the ball out last minute there, but I think that those were ruled sacks there. And as far as Morgan goes, yeah, not a lot overall there.
How many snaps did Morgan have in this game? Do you have the official number from the game book on Tanner Morgan?
I do. Hold on.
When he came in, midway through the third quarter, I believe it was after I think it was after the Austin touchdown, that possession.
21 snaps.
Okay. He had 23 reps in team period throughout training camp so far. So I'm not opposed to him playing in this one. I was surprised to see him play as much as he did. I thought he might come in last drive of the fourth quarter, one of those types of deals. I think for a guy that has not gotten a ton of work, I'm sure they'll talk about mental reps and what he's done throughout the spring, but it was probably a little too much exposure for a guy who probably wasn't ready for that much. And I understand wanting to play a guy and see him, and you have, what you have in Rudolph and Trubisky, but you don't want to put these guys in positions where they, basically kind of set up to fail. I thought Morgan probably was asked to do a little bit too much, and it was the interception and the botched exchange and a fumble late in the game. Just probably would have been better if he had played 8 snaps in this one.
Right. And the snaps went Pickett 10, Trubisky 9. What did Mason have? 23. So I think the emphasis was to get that number 3 and number 4 quarterback some time in this game, sure. Overall, and they did that. That might be all that you see of Morgan though, the rest of the preseason.
True. You imagine that for game 2 and possibly game 3, this team will play their starters more as they kind of did last year. And so you're right. They probably wanted to see the backups more in this game, knowing that the starters will see more action against the Bills and in that preseason finale. All right, running back. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to move to running back.
Okay.
Anthony McFarland, a fine. It matched what you were reporting coming out of camp there. Now on that touchdown run of his, that was poor contained on the outside. I think we both agree on that. But you still have to take advantage of it, right? And he put it in the end zone there. So good on him. I thought he was fine. I didn't pay a lot of attention going back through the time and a half on the TV tape and all, but I know they had him back there for at least one kickoff with McFarland. I don't know if it was more than that, and I think that ended up being a touchback or something like that for him there. But at least I haven't scoured it enough to see if he was used any other time on like special teams or whatnot.
Yeah, I really want to look for that. I mean, yeah, it was a good run to the outside, showing his speed. I'm sure I got some pushback. I didn't include McFarland on the winners list. It was obviously a good touchdown run. I just want to see, did he do more than that? Because I know the dude's fast. I know he can win the edge when the contain's pretty poor. So not taking that away from him. His good camp continues, but I want to see and go back to the tape and see if this guy was doing more than just that one play. Did they use any pony? I don't know if I saw any pony 2 running back sets in this one.
Just one special team snap for McFarland.
Really?
So it had to be that kickoff that he was back for there. So that was it for him on special teams.
So, I mean, if he makes this team, like, what's his value on game day?
We talked about it.
I know.
We talked about it. I mean, you can do it, but man, you got to have him dressing over there. Just maybe they can get him to be the kick returner. Maybe they'll give him a longer look as a kick returner. But what do you do with Calvin Austin? Calvin Austin gives you a lot more explosion and speed and all like that. So going to be interesting to see these final 2 preseason games that McFarland can get any burn, because if he can't, and if Austin's the kick returner, it's different if it's a 55 or 56 man roster, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. And even if he is the kick returner, McFarland, with the new rule, it's going to reduce kick returns even more. That's not a lot of value you're bringing. If you're doing both, right, if you're doing kicks and punts, okay, that's I think substantial value. But if you're just a kick returner watching, football sail out of the end zone, or you're fair catching at the 2-yard line to put it at the 25, that's not really going to create a ton of value to compel you to stick around. So again, the guy's had a really good camp. I'm excited for him. I think he's, putting things together. He's the clear front runner of all the internal options. I just wonder, will they go with an outside guy late in this process and find someone late on the waiver wire that would have that special teams value they covet so much for that number 3 position? We'll just stay tuned.
It feels like we had the same conversation last year. How is he going to fit in with this team?
Mm-hmm. And this has happened with other guys at different positions. I think about Tuzar Skipper and Ole Daney, guys that were really good on their side of the ball defensively as pass rushers, but they weren't playing on special teams, and they don't end up ultimately sticking initially because of that lack of special teams, ability or trust there. So that is the concern.
Tight end.
Less so to talk about overall. I really probably need to go through the all 22 to study that. Frymuth with the early catch, Connor Hayward, a couple of good snags, which is, in his wheelhouse, and even got a true running back carry, which I thought he would. I thought Connor Hayward would get a true running back touch in this game, and he did out of the backfield. Darnell Washington, I want to see more from him in terms of going back through the tape. There was a really good down block that he had. My overall thought, and I believe I mentioned this before the game, was whenever he can work angles and use his size and strength to seal guys down, he's going to be a bully. But in some of those more traditional base blocking, square up, go forward type of deals, I think he'll struggle a bit with his leverage and hand placement, and he's got to refine his technique. I think I saw a snap or two of him having some issues there late in the game. But when he can, execute a down block, I mean, this guy's going to just maul people.
They had him in the game early too. I don't know what that means, but they wanted to get a good look at him early in the game. Yeah, he played 25 snaps in total at various stages throughout this game, and had to catch. Did you see after he got that catch, he went over to the sideline there? Mike Tomlin made sure to shake his hand.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's a good little clip of that as an Easter egg in the TV tape there. So I thought it was fine overall for Washington, and we'll see what the all 22 says about some of the blocking and all.
Yeah, so I think it'll be when we come back for our next episode Monday. Hopefully, we can add a bit more color to the tight end room. All right, Dave.
Did you have Hot Rod Williams as a fullback on your bingo card for this one? I know there's at least one snap of that I saw.
I didn't see him do it in training camp. So yeah, I mean, good for him. I mean, he's a guy trying to stick around. He had a catch or two in this one, right? I believe. So, a little bit of production from him.
Mm-hmm. And he also played 14 special team snaps in this game.
That's important. Yeah. Can't discount that. All right, Dave, offensive line. Now, there's a lot to talk about here. The starting five, or the predictable starting five in this one, with Moore, Sayamalu, Mason Cole, James Daniels, and Chukwuma Okorafor. That group on that first drive, I thought, was fine. I thought Okorafor probably had a couple of difficulties. I think he got beat inside once and then lost the edge on another rep. Maybe he was expecting a chip from Jalen Warren. I'm not entirely sure. But overall, that line, I think, held up pretty well.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet just off the TV tape, and maybe the end zone view will show a different thing. Whenever PFF releases their grades, I'm willing to bet that Okorafor probably grades out the worst of those five. But once again, they were only in the game for a limited amount of time there. So, and they were able to march down the field and all like that. So, not a lot to talk about other than that one series for the starting five.
They all played just that one series, correct? Just 9 snaps. Am I correct in that? Or did they get an extra series whenever Trubisky came in?
No, it was 10 snaps for Okorafor, 10 for Moore, 10 for Sayamalu, 10 for Cole, and 10 for Daniels.
Okay, so that was the first. I think I said 9 snaps. I think it was 10 snaps for Pickett, right? So that was just the first drive. Then they all came out and the backups came in. Okay, so fair enough on that. Broderick Jones. So let's talk about him. First round pick here. I thought overall it was a good performance. I know there was a holding call late in that game. I thought Tanner Morgan was also kind of bailing and getting a ton of depth there, but fine. Holding call on Broderick Jones. That aside, again, have to watch all 22 for him and for all the offensive linemen. But I was really trying to take the time to watch Jones in particular, especially on that 2-minute drill where it's obvious pass situations. I thought he was really strong, fluid, sealed the edge, handled power decently, probably some work to do there with his hand placement and his punch. But overall, for the volume of snaps, too, he probably played as many snaps as anybody did offensively in this game. A good performance for him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to defer to you on that because I haven't really focused in on him too much. I do know he did have that rough couple of snaps there. Was it in the second half there? They did give him a lot of burn. 49 snaps in this game. He led all offensive players in total snaps played. I haven't gone nuanced on him even on the TV tape outside. I mean, he did have a rough couple back-to-back snaps, I think. But I don't want to judge him just off those snaps. And I think Mike Tomlin said, probably some hand placement and technique stuff over there. So he is a guy that I look forward to really focusing in on the all 22. Spencer Anderson, we asked the question, how much will he move around? I think he played at least 3 positions in this game, both guard spots and right tackle that I know of.
Yeah, I will have the charting from our Tom Mee, but I believe that sounds right. So using some of that versatility, probably played a bit more guard than I expected. But when you had Broderick Jones playing a fair amount of snaps, those tackles sticking around a little bit longer, that gave Anderson some more opportunities at offensive guard. So again, have to go through his tape. I really don't have an evaluation of how good or bad Anderson's performance was, but to show that versatility in that first game to play 3 spots, that's helpful to his cause.
The only other offensive lineman that I focused in on really in this game was Kendrick Green. And I don't think we saw a Kendrick Green fullback snap.
No, and I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. But as we talked about, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. If I'm pulling up my rock voice there, I mean, if he can't play center, then all the other stuff's just window dressing when it comes to him. And the TV tape, in my opinion, is bad enough on him. And the TV tape might look good compared to once the all 22 comes back on him. is my view on him. And then he had a stretch there of like 3 plays, I think, right in a row there. Was it late in the second quarter or early in the second half there that were just absolutely horrible. He had the holding call. He got forklifted back and almost got Mason Rudolph injured, and then a bad snap on top of it there. So and then they put him back in the game. Almost they're like trying to give him every chance, I think,
right.
Because I think they even put him back in the game after Herbig and McCollum played in this one to give him more snaps. I don't think it's going to. Here's where I come down on the center, and I haven't gone nuanced on Herbig, but nothing stuck out, hugely from what I saw with Herbig at center. I didn't think McCollum necessarily represented himself too terribly well overall. Here's where I come down on this right now at this point. The backup center for this team is either going to be Nate Herbig or somebody not on this roster right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I said as much the last week or so where Herbig did come in third team center behind Green, but they needed some guards ahead of him for the second team offensive line. And so Herbig had to play guard opposite of Dotson, and Green was in the middle there. So I understood the hype about the fullback. I thought it was interesting. And again, I'm surprised we didn't see it, early in the game before Green checked in, or maybe late in the game, but Green was getting a lot of work there, obviously along the offensive line. But I'd made mention that I still thought in terms of him as an offensive lineman, he was still showing the same struggles in training camp as he's shown, his first 2 years in the NFL as a starter, as a rookie, and in the preseason last year as a sophomore. And I didn't really see a lot of improvement there. And this worm could turn pretty quickly if he has a couple of bad snaps, and he did. But you're right, the string of consecutive, miscues, the getting bowled into the pocket, followed by a holding call, followed by a bad snap that has a big negative play. Just stacking bad plays on top of each other. One bad play may happen to an offensive lineman, but 3 in a row is just unacceptable.
And if you get in a game and that happens, that can kill you.
Yeah, it can cost you a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's the same old stuff with him that we were pointing out during. And remember, this is a guy that didn't play during his second season, right? So, we're picking up where we left off with him during his rookie season, basically on the ground, bad snaps. If he gets out in space, he's fine, and that's where all the talk of the fullback came from and all like that. But if he can't play center, then none of the other stuff matters.
And even if he is a center, he's still a third string center. I think he'll be behind Herbig or by somebody from the outside. And so he's not taking those snaps at guard. So, if Anderson can hold his own and look good and have that versatility, maybe he gets a little bit of center. Maybe they work Anderson at center this week just to see what he looks like there. The one position he's not actually worked in training camp. He's done it before at Maryland. Why not give this guy an opportunity? I don't know what that would mean for Kendrick Green in terms of practice reps, but I would try Anderson a little bit there and just see what he can do.
Well, here's the thing. Do you need to give Green more have you seen enough at center now?
Yeah, probably.
So why wouldn't you try to give those? But you haven't seen Anderson at center in any practices, right?
No, he has not taken a single snap. And Green's still going to practice, and he's only practiced at center, so he's still going to probably rep center in some capacity during camp this week.
Well, I think something's wrong if you start reporting on Sunday at training camp practice that Kendrick Green is going in there and being the second team center.
Something's wrong in the sense of what it's like.
I think it's a bad decision. I think you need to start figuring that out beyond him now. And I don't think the answer is Ryan McCollum, but if anything, maybe he deserves to take a step up the ladder. I think it's going to be Herbig or somebody not on this roster.
I'm with you, but I do want to see what Anderson can do there just to get a look and just to have some experience where if you ever had a bunch of injuries, you might have somebody that, has done it before a little bit and maybe smooth over an emergency type of situation. So again, we'll keep looking at the offensive line. Did anything else stick out to you up front? I really, for me, I got to watch all 22 to really be able to evaluate the big guys up front.
Yeah, I'm with you because it was a late game and trying to fly back through the TV tape and all. You can only focus on so much. All right, defense.
Yep. Let's flip over to the defensive line here. Keanu Benton, you just hope that ankle's okay because, it was a great performance until then. This guy was impactful in the backfield, pass game, run game. There was a couple plays. I think one series, I think 3 straight plays, he was impactful. I forget the whole, what it was. It was a 4th down blow up. It was him clubbing the center for a near pressure. The left guard had to come over and give help and kind of tripped Benton up. He's, I think you had a clip of him not getting reached and still being able to blow up a play as the running back cut back. I mean, just good play after good play for Keanu Benton.
Yeah. Now there was the one play I think where he got kind of bullied about 6 yards off the line of scrimmage there, but for the most part, I thought he represented himself really, really, really well overall. And now you hope that ankle injury won't prevent him from playing more. I mean, it reminded me a lot of the things that you kind of had shown in the in that first, that very first Keanu Benton off-season post that you did on him right around the Senior Bowl before the Senior Bowl. We saw a lot of that stuff. I thought overall he kept his balance well because I think if there was a knock on him coming out of Wisconsin on his college tape, that sometimes his balance wasn't good, but I thought he did a great job of balance, did a good job of quickness off the ball and, a swim over and beating a reach block and really tall. And that's Cody Mock too.
Guy that we were big fans of.
Yeah. And I know people are judging Cody Mock off that one play, but I think Cody Mock still got a lot of football in him left to play there. So it wasn't just dealing with just an average furniture mover in there overall there. So yeah, I thought that, and Mike Tomlin mentioned Benton by name after the game as well too. And anytime you can get that with a rookie after our first preseason game, I think the all 22 will be kind to him.
I think so as well. I do agree. I think his biggest issue, Benton's, is anchoring against double teams, splitting double teams, not getting washed out. Easier said than done. It rarely looks pretty. You're not going to, stonewall a double team or a combo block, but I think he's going to have to work on his anchor there to really kind of take that next step in his game. But great athlete, good hand usage, high energy type of dude. Impact player in the backfield. Pittsburgh, when they drafted him, said, we believe there's more he can do than just be that classic nose tackle, that he can rush the passer more than maybe what the stats indicated at Wisconsin. And you're seeing signs of that last night.
I didn't focus and staying on are you done talking? Are we done with Benton here?
Yep.
I didn't hyper focus on it outside of maybe the first couple of possessions there. And you've talked about Montravius Adams seemingly having a good start at camp there. I thought he represented himself well early in that game.
What did you see from him? I didn't get a good feel for it.
It felt like it looked like he was strong and fresh and got some push early there. And I'm only talking about the first couple of series there where I was kind of honing in on him. But just on the surface, it looked like, especially early in the game, it looked like Montravius Adams represented himself well of those guys up front.
I do know the run defense just collectively had some issues in kind of the, second quarter of this game. And so I'll have to go back and see what happened there. But I thought, when I think about the individual performances of Benton, of Loudermilk, of Armand Watts, I thought those guys look good. And again, I really think this D-line group has been competitive and strong. And I'll keep saying the phrase tough cuts here probably a lot until and unless injuries dictate and make decisions for Pittsburgh. And again, we'll see about the ankle injury for Benton. There's going to be some tough cuts along this defensive line.
What else stuck out? I didn't hyper focus on Fehoko through the first time and a half through, but he did have that pass bat down in the game. So that was. Did you look at
Leal?
There.
I was trying to get a feel of Leal in this one. I didn't get a great feeling, but I really don't have enough to make a conclusion.
The few times that I focused in on him, I thought the athleticism was there.
Sure, which we knew. I mean,
right.
He's always been that kind of guy. Can he do something with it is the question.
Right. But I mean, we did finally get to, and once again, we'll focus on him a little bit later this afternoon. But we saw his hand on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know if he stood up. I might have missed it. I'll have to go through my charting and confirm, but I don't recall him standing up in this game.
Okay.
All right. What else do we have here? Let's go now to the linebackers. We'll start with the outside linebackers. And did Alex Highsmith need to play in this game?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Does he need to, though? I don't know. I think he got that contract. He can get the TJ Watt treatment, but it was him and Marcus Golden starting. Obviously, Nick Herbig, the talk here, and it was an impressive day overall, but I think it was doubly impressive because this guy has not practiced in a couple days. I mean, he's been in individual periods, but he's not been in teams since I forget what day it's been. It's been a couple days though, and so for him to kind of come off the bus and get his first game action in a little while and play that well makes this day all the more impressive.
Look, you knew when he was in a game, 13 snaps overall on defense there. And the first sack he split with Leal, if you're going to rate these things, it was less impressive than the second one. He ran up the edge and Trask had a deep drop, and we knew Herbig can win with the get off and speed around the edge, and he did on that first one. It's not his fault that the quarterback was back there at the top of the arc for him to get a hand on there, and he did finish the play, and that's all you can ask a guy can do in that situation. I thought his second sack, the full sack that he had, I thought that was very impressive there because he worked back inside, showed a little bit of, showed the get off, showed the athleticism, and showed a move to get back inside there. I thought that was a very impressive sack for him coming off the edge there.
It was an intelligent rush. I need to go back to the all 22, but the tackle set wide. I believe the right guard was blocking down on that play, so that created that inside lane there.
He also had a back on him, chipping on sort of half chipping, I think, on the outside on that one as well too. So it wasn't just a one-on-one situation. So man, I can't wait to see because I got the Tampa Bay broadcast. I don't know what you had maybe they showed.
I had the KDK. They showed a good replay of the sack.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I didn't get to see all that great of a replay on that, but I thought his full sack, the second one, that he was in on, was very impressive from all views that I have.
And that's why you rush inside, because if the back's chipping to the outside, the tackle's set wide, you're not going to win to the outside. You're just going to get chipped and the ball's going to be out. And if the guard's blocking down, taking the tackle, the D-tackle, then you rush inside. So it was a good, kind of outside hesitation, then inside. I don't know if it was a swim or whatever it was. I forget the exact move, but yeah, it was a smart rush. And when you rush smart and you're a good athlete with good hand use, you get to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in the group, I think overall was generally quiet. Roche maybe showed a little bit. I think he technically had the forced fumble at the end of the game on that final punt there. I believe it went to him. Perales, I saw some people talking him up. I have to go back and watch through. I didn't get a great impression from Perales. He got a lot of burn.
The effort was there, and that's what he was coming out of Fresno State. He was a high effort, high motor guy, and I thought you saw at least that aspect of him in this game. Now, one time I think he gave up contain or something on a roll on a scramble or something like that. Might be a negative overall. But I think the thing that stuck out for me with him was a high effort kind of guy. And with Golden, who wasn't in the game very long, the thing that I saw on him that also matched his tape was chasing after the football and backside, chasing down some of those runs. I think early was the thing that stuck out with Marcus Golden.
And that's always been his calling card. I remember the film room that Jonathan did after Golden got signed. I mean, he's like the king at backside contain, chasing down the ball. And so he's a real high effort, high energy type of dude.
Right. All right, Dave. And as far as any other outside linebacker, nothing comes to mind.
Inside linebacker, Quan Alexander, Ooh. You felt it. You could, and you know what? I should have had him on my winners list. I thought about that like 20 minutes after, and I realized people have already probably killed me in the comments, so I just didn't update the post, but he's definitely, I think, a winner from last night. Landon Roberts only played 2 snaps in this game. Alexander played far more of the lot. Yeah, a lot of snaps for Alexander, and facing his former team, this dude was downhill. He was energetic. He was intense, and he let his presence be felt.
Well, you wouldn't have known that he hadn't been part of this defense for a little while. 2
weeks.
And look, even that penalty that they had on him. I mean, I understand the spirit of the rule, and I guess if you slow that thing, I went back and tried to slow that thing down and freeze frame it. I understand why they called it. I don't like it, but as Mike Tomlin say, rather say woe than sick 'em. There was a lot of sick 'em. There was a lot of if you want to quantify the game that Quan Alexander had Friday night, it was sick 'em. Period.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay was saying, "Whoa, this guy's hitting."
Right. He had a couple of big pops in this one as well too, and did a good job avoiding trash on a couple of those to come in and fill some of those gaps. So it's only one preseason game, and all like that. But I don't know, Alex. Do you have to maybe think that it might be Holcomb and Alexander as the two in the middle?
Well, I said this before because when Alexander got signed, all the initial reporting was, oh, he's depth. Yeah, he might compete for a spot, but, he's not expected to start. I said, he may not start. I don't know, but the dude's going to play. He's not signed to run down kicks and punts and bide his time for somebody to get hurt. And so I think they're going to find ways to get all those top three guys on the field, with Holcomb being the 3-down guy. He wore the green dot as confirmed by Charlie Batch last night. Roberts is going to play. Alexander will play. I'll go back to my initial assumption or my initial thought that Roberts and Holcomb in base 3-4, Alexander and Holcomb in nickel, and Holcomb in dime. I'm going to stand by that for now. I'll check the charting to see when Roberts came in. I don't know if that was base situations. I'm literally charted one play so far. It was base, and so Roberts was in the game. Maybe that's how they did it. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident all three guys will be playing pretty significant defensive snaps this year.
Okay.
Beyond that, trying to think about the rest of the group.
Kwiatkowski blew up a running back, kind of Vince Williams style.
And hopefully he didn't blow out his shoulder, though, because he fell on that shoulder pretty hard. And so we'll see what the injury was there. So, yeah, to lose him, to lose Chappelle Russell, that sucked for him because he was a guy that I was looking forward to watching in this game. He's had a good camp. He's been energetic. I thought Muse looked okay. Overall, the whole inside linebacker room looked good. You just wonder about the injuries right now. Will you have Russell and Kwiatkowski for the rest of camp?
Right.
All right, moving on now to the secondary and the defensive backs. Let's talk about the cornerbacks to start here, Dave. Again, unfortunate Joey Porter Jr. could not play in this contest. No Patrick Peterson in this one. Starting corners were James Pierre and Levi Wallace. Your overall thoughts on the cornerback group?
Let's see here. Barku got some early snaps in this game, didn't he?
I think so. With some of the injuries and some of those guys not playing makes sense. And plus the guys had a couple of really good practices. So, you would hope that you would see him a little bit more.
Right. The thing that stuck out, Barku came flying down on one of those early plays, but unfortunately I think he missed the tackle on that's my boy Devin Tompkins.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. That forced out one. That stuck out. James Pierre got a lot of burn in this game. I mean, he got a lot of burn in this game. And even that touchdown on him, I mean, what else do you want the guy to do, there? I mean, did he get a finger even if he didn't get a finger on it, he got a fingernail on it and all like that. And you kind of hate it for him because it was such a great pass and a great catch overall. I thought top to bottom, he represented himself well overall. That stuck out to me as far as the cornerbacks go. Riley, as expected, got a lot of burn in this game as well too. Now, as far as coverage and all goes like that, we have to see what the press box view of that looks like and all. But those are a few things that stuck out to me overall. What about you?
Well, Riley had a tackle for loss, his tackle on special teams, a good punt coverage play. I mean, that's what he needs to be. They're looking for that rundown slot corner, and Riley's a hair on fire dude. I think a tackle for loss, or one of the tackles was a backside chase. And so they're looking for somebody who can wear that hat. And I think Riley can wear it pretty effectively. So that's encouraging for him in this slot battle that will continue. Yeah, Pierre, that was what covered too. He's getting depth. I thought it was just a great throw by Baker Mayfield. Just one of those where it's a perfect ball. And I'm sure Pierre could have done something better if you're the DB's coach, Grady Brown, and how you coach that thing. But I'm not going to hold it against Pierre too much overall. From there, yeah, the corners didn't really stick out. Marjorie Harper, I think, had a breakup, used his length well on one play. But I didn't get a lot of notes and takeaways off the top from that group.
I think it got called, but wasn't there a missed tackle or two by a cornerback or by one cornerback on that touchdown that was called back?
Who missed the tackle there? I forget. I know somebody did. I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong name, but there was a missed tackle.
All right. Yeah,
Right.
I don't have a lot there. Some of that will stick out more on the all 22. Now, safety Trent Tompkins had a nice robber interception, a nice read, a nice cut, and all there. I didn't think Kenny Robinson obviously played a lot. I don't think he stuck out really much positively or negatively. I think Trenton, though, on a couple of times had some poor angles on some tackle attempts there outside of the interception. Who else played safety? They didn't have a lot of safeties.
Yeah, Jalen Elliott, I think, had one missed angle, allowed the completion.
Who else played safety in this game?
Killebrew.
Yeah, Killebrew. I don't have anything on Killebrew as far as TV viewing goes.
Sure.
He played 34 snaps, though.
Well, they don't have a lot of safeties playing in this one, so guys had to absorb it. Did Riley play any safety in this game? Do you know? And when you were watching through, again, my charting will flesh all this out, but did you see him?
I did. I don't have that. I don't have that info yet.
Okay.
No.
I don't know if he did. I just trying to think about, because the lines were pretty short. No Minka, no Casey, no Neal, no Norwood. It's pretty thin there. Yeah, Thompson's, I think, an aggressive downhill guy. I think he fills the alley well. Probably can be a little too reckless, as you pointed out, but I think he's practice squad material.
Okay.
All right, that's going to cover the position group specialists. Again, the backups were in. There was no Boz, no Harvin, no Christian Kuntz, and so it was BT Potter, Rex Sunahara, and Braden Mann. I thought Mann's punting was okay. Nothing that made me think, okay, this guy's going to be this team starting punter week one. BT Potter, credit to him, a couple of field goals. One did sneak in that left upright, but good is good in the NFL. And so I thought Potter had a good NFL debut.
I thought there was one interesting snap I figured you'll go look at on one of those by Sunahara that was a little wide.
Okay.
That might be worth looking at. What else was there on?
I did think Sunahara's snaps, in my very limited view of camp, were a little more inaccurate. And I thought Kuntz had been, clearly the better snapper for whatever it's worth in training camp.
What else was I looking at when it came to that one punt by Mann that ended up going 50 something yards, though. I think he was a benefit of lucky bouncing there, because I don't think it came off his foot overly good.
Right. And then Bird as the return guy, not a ton of chances. There were some short punts and some kicks that couldn't be returned. Did have the one return. What he did get on punt team was pinned right sideline. Really couldn't do much with it. So, just really couldn't evaluate that a whole lot. But they gave him a lot of burn. Now, will they do that going forward? I got to think at some point they're going to let Austin Olszewski get some looks there, because, the odds of Jordan Bird making this team are still pretty low.
Yeah, I think that was his opportunity to show what he can maybe do. I don't know. Maybe you get late in the fourth quarter of some of these games coming up. Maybe he'll get another opportunity or two. But I think the time's ticking on him.
And why is Danny Smith kicking out of the end zone to start this game? Come on, Danny Smith. Mike Tomlin talking about we want to see returns, and yet you have a touchback on the opening kickoff. I want to see this kick coverage team.
I agree.
All right. Any other final thoughts? I think we covered the group pretty well. Again, we got to go back to the tape, and especially all 22. And I'm, behind in terms of rewatching this game, but I think overall a good performance. Happy with especially how the offense did, early in this one. I know Tampa Bay played some of their backups in this one. I get it, but can only evaluate who they played against in this game. And Pittsburgh still did a lot of good things. So I'm encouraged by this start.
Yeah, and look, Tampa helped them out a bunch on the penalties. They had 12 for 127, and the Steelers had 6 for 46. Let's see, what were the penalties? I know Alexander had one. I know Kendrick Green had one. Where were the other penalties in this one?
I'd have to go back and think. I'm not really sure to be. Alexander had the one on the helmet contact defensively. I don't know what the other ones. Broderick Jones got called for a hold. That was late on that last drive or two. So that's 4 of the 6, I think.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick here. Okay, we had Quan Alexander, Kendrick Green, Tanner Muse had one, Shannon Sullivan had one, Cody White had one, and then you had 3 declined, Madre Harper, Broderick Jones, and James Nyamwa.
Oh, that's the offsides. He was trying to run back and he got caught. He was called for 12 men and offsides on the same play. So welcome to the NFL. A little different than how Merrimack College, I think, worked.
All
right, Dave, any reader emails to close out today's show? I don't know if we have any emails, anybody staying up late or sending in something early to give their thoughts. I'm sure there's probably somebody with a thought or a comment or two on this preseason opener. Of course, we'll be back, I guess, tomorrow for our camp coverage, but also our next full regular episode of the podcast will be on Monday.
Jim Bendis writes in, Hanson Brothers. Hey, I have been putting this out of my mind every time I thought of it. It keeps coming back to me, but every time I think of the Herbig brothers, I keep going back to the Hanson brothers in the movie Slapshot. True, this is football, not hockey, but the manner the brothers have on and off the field, plus it is a Pittsburgh area team, somewhat parallels the Hanson brothers, and both last names start with H, he says. Look, I think the Herbig brother story is yet another great Pittsburgh brothers story here. And what did Mike Tomlin say on the sideline? Something to the effect of anybody have any other brothers or something like that?
Yeah. Anyone else have a younger brother? That was after, I guess, Herbig, one of his impact plays in this one. Yeah, I mean, I know Pittsburgh can kind of, it feels a little over the top, a little predictable with all the sibling connections, all the brother connections, but they do that for a reason. Guys that have been around football all their life, they know what, the NFL standard is, and guys that are just, love the game and come into play, and they've generally found more success with those siblings than not.
Let's see. Paul Brown, last night's game couldn't have gone any better for the offense. Kenny plays lights out on his drive. Wide receivers actually getting yak, and the run game showing flashes. One of the things that caused concern, though, does this team really have a backup center? Kendrick Green is atrocious. Paul, we've talked about this. I've talked about the center position all offseason, and from where I sit right now, as I said early in the show, I think that backup center is Nate Herbig or somebody not currently on the team, and we'll see if my viewpoint changes after the next preseason game here. Chad Burns writes in, we saw McFarland and Austin in on the same drive. Do you think two speed guys at the same time helps keep the defense from easily keying on the red flashing light when just one of those speed guys come onto the field? Look, I wouldn't read too much about who was on the field together, especially when it comes to those two. I would look at just the individual play. If Austin showed us anything, man, one of that first jet sweep that he had, man, he got to that edge quick, man, and turned it upfield. If you outside of that explosive reception for a touchdown that he had, if you want one play that signifies that guy's over that foot injury, it was that one there. I'm not reading too much into McFarland and Austin in on the same drive and all like that. I think both represented himself well. And this goes back to when Austin was drafted and all the talk about trying to compare him to who was a Kent State
Dree Archer?
Yeah, Dree Archer and all. I mean, there's just no comparison here other than both of them being, a little undersized. I mean, Austin is an accomplished receiver. He got through that game you get 4 touches for 90-something yards. I mean, and yeah, it's a preseason game, yada, yada. But that says something right there. But Chad, I would not read much into having both them on the field and all like that. I would look at their performances individually.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, having more speed, I guess, helps. I mean, that, McFarland and Austin probably will be on the field very little together in the regular season, but I understand.
Assuming McFarland makes the roster.
Well, that's kind of my point. Yeah, A, he has to make it, and B, that, all those mechanisms. So, probably won't be much of a conversation piece come September 10th. But I mean, I understand the point about Austin, kind of the red flashing light of like his speed. But I mean, as you said, Dave, he's not a Dree Archer. He's a guy that's a legitimate, true wide receiver that can run a full wide receiver route tree. And yeah, you can creatively use that speed and maximize that and use him in different ways. But he's not this positionless, unrefined, don't really know what he does, but he's fast kind of guy that Dree Archer is, that Jordan Bird is right now in camp for the team, where he's kind of that Archer. Not really sure what he can do from a position standpoint, but he's an athlete and, had college success. Let's kind of try to figure it out. Austin is not that. He is far more defined, and that's really encouraging for his NFL, potential.
All right. That's all the emails, and I think that's all we got. Not a bad show overall for 2.5 hours sleep, I don't think. But you and I will be back on Sunday after training camp practice for another special edition of the podcast. Hopefully, we're sharing some good news about some of these injured guys here, and maybe get some of these guys like Joey Porter Jr. ramped up to play in the second preseason game. So whatever does happen out there at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, you will be reporting on. In the meantime, Alex and I will start pouring through more of the tape once that gets dumped in our lap, and I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit about what we find in that special edition podcast on Sunday, and most notably on the Monday morning edition of the podcast as well too. So thank you everybody for tuning in on this Saturday. And let's see, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button. Tom's 10 Takes is up on the site. Glad to see that back. We got a lot of great content, post-game content coming up on the site all throughout Saturday afternoon. So make sure you get by the site and check that out. So until Sunday night, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.